Welcome to Pain with a Purpose, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of resilience, redemption, and purpose. I'm your host, Chris Woods, and each week we will sit down with guests who have faced challenges with substance abuse, mental health, and recovery. But we're not just dwelling on the past. Instead, we'll explore what keeps them driven towards a purposeful life. Join us as we navigate the journey from pain to a purpose.
All right, so with that, welcome back to Pain with a Purpose, Season 2, Episode 1.
I got the privilege, Episode 1.
You got the Episode 1. We got to start off hot here.
Yeah, absolutely.
With Joe Perri.
Yes.
A.K.A. Little Snuff.
Yes.
A.K.A. what else they call you?
Little Snuffy Bear, Snuffleupagus. I mean, there's so many different nicknames. It's crazy.
I appreciate you making the trip.
Of course.
I know that we, we don't really know each other at all from Pain, really.
But when you vibe with somebody, it's easy. And it's just,
well, I think how we actually met, we were at like a coffee outing, right?
Yes.
For like drug and alcohol stuff. And we were just talking about like the setup with podcasts and like, you know, like you scratch my back, I scratch your back,
course.
really. And we were talking about somebody that wanted to come on and they were like, well, you know, send a car. I was like, you got the wrong one.
Yeah, no, you don't do stuff like that. And in the podcast world, even with the biggest people that I've interviewed, from Pete Rose to Amber Rose, they don't ask for money. It's just something in the podcast game. You're supposed to do it to help each other, to get your brand out there, to get your name out there and tell your story to people who don't know you.
Dude, side note, I mean, you had Pete Rose on. He just passed, right?
I was the last interview.
Oh, my
Me
God.
and Joey did Pete Rose's last interview.
How was that? Well, you guys are on Patreon, right?
Yeah.
So we'll get into all that. But like, how was that when the cameras weren't rolling?
He was unbelievable. When I mean to tell you, a guy who I think got jerked off big time by baseball, because everybody gambles. Let's say what it is.
We're going to go on a whole tangent, but like Shohei's out here playing in the World Series,
and he gambled. And listen, I have nothing against that, whatever they did. But Pete Rose didn't have one bad word to say about nobody. He was one of the coolest guys I've ever met, and younger. So I didn't realize how good he was until he started talking and going over his stats. And of course, I did my homework, but it was just unbelievable. He was great.
Yeah. I mean, one of the best to ever do it.
Yes.
The fact that he didn't, I mean, he's going to have to get put in.
He said he doesn't want it. He told us straight to our face.
Rest his soul, he's not there anymore.
He said, my family knows not to accept that award.
Really?
Yeah, that's what he told us.
No shit.
And his documentary, you should watch it because he talks about it too.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
For sure.
He was unbelievable.
So not only do you have, we might as well just get into all of it now, right?
Of course.
So you got the Skinny, right? The Skinny podcast with Joey Merlino.
Skinny with Joey Merlino and Little Snuff.
Little Snuff. I'm going to botch them all, right? You got Skinny, Joey's Cheesesteaks about to come out.
Yes. We're about 8 weeks away from the cheesesteak store opening up.
And that's on the corner, right?
Right on the corner, 3020 South Broad Street. We're right in the heart of South Philly. You know, it used to be talk of the town back in the day. I don't know if you're familiar with that area.
I stayed out of South Philly.
You should go back though. South Philly's a good time. If you go to the right places.
Where'd you grow up? Packer Park?
No, I didn't grow up Packer Park. My family's from the Italian market.
I went to school at Roman, dude. So I just say Packer Park or 1J6. That's all I know.
1J6. That's where I grew up, 16th of Jackson.
All right.
My family's from the Italian market, 10th and Carpenter area, but I was born and raised on 16th of Jackson. That's where I'm from originally.
Gotcha.
You know, that's where we all hung out at 16th of Jackson, 18th of Johnson.
And you were, before you like really grew up, were you like part of the whole like
Mummers?
Yeah.
Yeah. Still in the Mummers.
Jester?
I was a jester. Yeah,
okay.
Jesters. So this was our 20th year anniversary. This will be 21 years. We'll be going out in the parade as the Jesters.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a tradition in South Philly that from 2nd Street to our neighborhood, 30th Street, everybody in South Philly that grew up there, you were in the Mummers Parade one time or another, or your family was.
Yeah. Well, I think Delco does it too.
Yeah,
like,
everybody does it now.
Come down
Yeah.
from Delco.
And that's the way it should be. Everybody should get involved in it. If you tell people in Florida about Mummers, they have no idea what you're talking about.
I was going to say they actually kind of know.
Really?
Well, yeah, I think they know. What
Some people that are like, I talk to older people and that have no idea about South Philly. They're like, "What do you mean you put a dress on and dress up?" I'm like, "Yeah, we paint our faces."
It does sound absurd.
It does. It is absurd,
especially when you go all out, right? Like,
and when you do it sober, it's even crazier.
We'll get into all that.
Yeah, crazier.
So you got the cheesesteak spot. Where do we think that's going to align? Is it too soon to tell? Like, where do we think that's going to align in Philly cheesesteak?
I think it will be number one.
Okay.
Actually, I know it will be number one because one, we're going to do it and elevate it. If you could see the property,
statement.
If you could see the property and the money that we put into this, of course, there's an investor and things like that. It's beautiful. It's going to be knocked out, but we're going to try and take it to not just like a South Philly cheesesteak where you're just grabbing a slop sandwich and going.
Yeah.
We're going to have the best meat. We're going to have the best bread, and we're going to make sure that when you go there, it's an experience that you're not going to forget.
And then the line.
Yeah, well,
that's going to happen too.
Yeah, of course. You have to stay. Bryce Harper showed up.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah.
I can't keep up, dude. You got so much stuff.
Listen,
I mean, it's like every day you got something breaking news.
You want me to tell you what happened?
So Bryce showed up.
So what happened was I'm standing there waiting for the air condition guy to get there because it's under construction. And I see a car pull up. And I'm like, oh, just a regular car because we are connected to a gas station. Yeah. But he pulls up not to get gas, somebody. And the door opens. And just by coincidence, I look and I make eye contact with him. And I'm like, I say to myself, there's no way that's Bryce Harper. Shuts the door. So now I'm standing there like this. The door opens back up. He gets out and he starts walking towards me. And he goes, yo, I'm hungry. Just like that. I was so stunned because you never see him. Like, he's never around. I was like, Bryce, I said, we're not open yet. I said, we're under construction. He's like, I'm going to the ballpark. I'm hungry. I said, clearly, it was right when the Phillies were in the playoffs. It was game one. I said, when we're open back, come make sure you come back. I'll take care of you. I said, listen, I don't ask people for pictures. I took like 2 pictures that I wanted in my whole life. Yeah. Dave Portnoy and Bryce Harper. He's like, absolutely, let's get a picture. He stayed there with me 5 minutes. Just talked, shot the shit.
Nice guy.
Yeah, great guy. Yeah. Great guy. He's Philly. Through and through. Yeah.
Well, I think we've accepted him for everything that he fits right in too.
Right in. Great guy.
Nick Castellanos, that's the whole nother.
I love
him too, but if he whatever, right? Now we're just getting into the sports.
Yeah.
Right. So Nick Castellanos is great, right?
Yeah.
But, like, stop swinging at junk.
Of
we'll
course.
Leave it at that.
He's aggressive. Let's say that.
Yeah. Overly.
Yeah. He is.
So we got we went through all of them, right?
Yeah.
No, we also got the skinny family picks.
That's where me and Joey really like we love. Like my passion is sports.
Sure.
And I started before the podcast started, I started doing car commercials.
Okay.
But before the car commercials even, I created this fake persona. I called myself the Chicken Man.
Okay.
So I would say, let's ship the chicken baby. And it got like this viral sensation. And I started doing gambling picks. And I would do like this ladder challenge. And then when we started the podcast, I said, Joe, when we do the podcast, and I'll get into telling you how that all happened.
Yeah.
I said, we have to implicate the sports. And we have to start selling sports picks because, to be honest with you, that's where the money is. Everyone gambles. And everybody wants to turn $25 into $200,000.
And it's also legal everywhere now,
everywhere.
Right? So you can do it right from your phone. Full disclosure, I got jammed up, or not early in sobriety, but like COVID happened, right? I took it to a whole nother level. I went from not gambling at all to a whole nother level.
During COVID, what happened to me too, like, I never played slot machines.
That's where I was.
And on my phone, I hit a slot machine for $56,000. So it was the worst thing that ever happened to me.
So I hit for 18.
There you go.
And I was like literally in my morning routine, right? I was like, about to jump in the shower.
Yeah, you're on the toilet playing slots.
And like my heartbeat didn't even change. And I was like, oh, we got an issue.
Oh, no, there is an issue. Listen, I hit 56,000 with my wife next to me and I didn't budge. And then when I seen the money kept going, I jumped up and she's like, what's the matter? I said, I don't know if this is real. I said, it's either 5,600 or 56,000. It was 56,000.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope, dude.
I wish that never happened.
But then because of being online, right? Like, it was in my account in an hour.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is wild.
Fast pay. I had it all.
Yeah.
You're chasing the same high in a slot machine than you're chasing when you first sniff the first bag or the first perk 30 or the first bag of Coke, anything. That's the high you're chasing forever. And I say it, if I did as much drugs as I did gambling, I'd be dead already.
Yeah, it's literally the exact same thing. Because when I hit, it wasn't even enough.
No,
you know what I mean?
Never enough.
I took care of like some small responsibilities and then we're right back at it.
Of course.
It was whatever.
I actually bought a house. Thank God. Touch wood. I did a good thing. I bought a Rolex and I bought a house. And you
went to South Philly.
I never left South Philly.
I figure Washington Township.
Well,
you know what I mean?
No, that's the stereotype. Yeah. But I did go to Jersey. My goal was I was buying a house in Margate down the shore.
Yeah.
Went down the shore, looked at a property. I went to Deffert. My buddy Joe Fab moved to Deffert, so I went over there to look over there. And I looked in Cherry Hill where I worked in the car business. And I walked through the house, me, my wife, and my sister, who's a realtor. And I came out of the house and I said, what am I going to do here? They're looking at me like, well, I said, how am I going to wake up, go get coffee with, my father, and I got to drive over the bridge. Or when I want to go to casino, I said, I just can't do it. And I chickened out. And we bought the house in South Philly. Yeah.
And how long has that been?
Oh, I owned my house for 3 years.
Okay.
3 years.
So right when the time was good.
My interest rate's 2.85. You know,
that's a thing of the past right now.
My buddy Reverso got me a good rate. So it was good. Everything lined up. But I really bought it because I hit a slot machine. I was making money in the car business. And I tell this story all the time. I had about $56,000 in the bank after I bought the house. Most money I've ever had. Everything was going great. I was on top of the world. And something in our mind, as an addict, it was like, I don't want this money in my bank account. I just want to go burn it all up at live casino and slots. And that's what I did. Yeah. I blew every dollar of it.
How quick?
I mean, I would probably tell you it had no more than 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. It's not good.
And there's some people that will never understand what that's like, whether it's gambling, whether it's using, whatever the case may be. But it's like, it didn't matter if it was there or not. Like it was, you know what I mean? When we're in it, it's so hard to get out of it.
And you're like, see, when you're doing
like, you could have hit for another 200.
Yeah.
Right. And that still wouldn't have pulled you out of the casino.
No, it doesn't matter. And see, when you're like, you're in active addiction and you're doing drugs and you have to get to the drug dealer's house, you'll burn every red light, you'll drive wherever. In the casino, like I physically would say to my wife, when I'm playing a slot machine, I blank out and I can't cash the money out. Like my hands won't allow me to hit cash out.
So mine's different, right? So when I'm at the casino, right, and if I hit big, I usually just roll.
Okay.
Right? But if I go down, now I got to walk over to the ATM, hit it a couple times. After my experience was like, 2-3 times hitting the ATM, I'm like, that's it. Like, I'm done.
That's it. You would be done.
During COVID, during the slots, like it's fake money.
Yeah, well, because
I was just preloaded. Unless they hit me with the, hey, you just put this much in. I was like, so that's where I got.
I had a thing in the casino. My buddy Jerry, if he was here, he would tell you, like, it was give me your money, his money, her money. I needed to take everyone's money until I knew there was nothing left. And then I went home and I slept like a baby. Like, that's crazy. Yeah. Fucking nuts.
And we're not even talking about like the substance yet. No. We're not even talking about,
no, that's what I mean? Total different
how
story.
we really burn our life to the ground. So since we got through all that, and one more, dude, I saw that you were on Tonka's podcast. He's my boy. Great dude.
One of the best. He just came out with hot sauce.
It's, what I mean? Maybe we'll collab when Skinny Joey's opens up.
Absolutely. I mean? He's going to be in there.
So
I didn't know him from anything.
He's just like salt of the earth. He's the nicest guy in the world.
He DM'd me and he said to me, I answered right away. He's like, oh my God, I can't believe you answered. I'm like, why? He's like, oh, you got 70,000 followers. That means nothing. You're from the neighborhood. Even though you're not from the city, I know who you are.
Yep.
I want to help you out as much as, you could help me out.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this is about. You know what I mean? And we vibed for 2 hours, dude. We did the podcast. It was great.
He had you at his house?
No, I did it at Play 2 at Chickies and Pete's. We had a whole setup there. We had the screens all lit up. It was great.
Love that.
It was a good time.
So now on a more serious note, right? Although for $10.99 plus a penny, like he says, you can get the hot sauce Spicy John. It's coming out. It's live. I got a bottle in the fridge. It's so
phenomenal.
Good.
It really is. Make sure you go buy that for sure.
So like what happened, right? Like I wouldn't just reach out to you because you got like a following on social media, right? Like there's a reason why I asked you on like my podcast called Pain with a Purpose. Like let's get into all that. Like what happened, right? Was it the 30s like it was back in the day? Because you said you're 32, so you're right around my age.
I was the 30 era. And that's just what it was. And I did a pill, which my story is a little different. I did a pill before I ever smoked pot, before I ever took a drink.
I got the same deal.
There you go. Mm-hmm. See, that's why
I thought I was better then. I was like, I don't smell like nothing. I don't look like nothing.
My buddy TJ, my best friend in the whole world, I ate lunch with him today. He would smoke cigarettes and smokes pot. And I would get so mad at him. Mm-hmm. He's in recovery now, 11 years, clean and sober. We got sober around the same time. I would say, you're fucking filthy. You're a crumb, and then I decided one day down the shore, it all happened. Me and two of my friends, I was young. I always hung out with older kids.
Yeah.
And I wind up going to a club. Memories. Did you ever hear of Memories?
I was shot out early, brother. We knew.
So
you know what I mean?
Memories is a place in Margate that everybody goes to.
Yeah.
The Geeter, Jerry Blavitt, he died now, rest in peace. It was the best, all oldies music. So we went down there one weekend and, I'm 17 years old. I never had a drink yet, never smoked pot. And that's late in life. You know what I mean? We're driving down, and my buddy got his wisdom teeth out. And he's like, they gave me these peaches. They were 7.5 perks back then.
Yeah.
And he's like, do you want to do one? And I'm like, I didn't want to say no, but I didn't want to say yeah. So I was like, yeah, just give it to me. So he gives me, I put it in my hand, I put it in my pocket. Him and my buddy, we're all sitting at the bar. Like I said, I didn't even have a drink yet. And about half hour goes by and I look at my friend and his eyes are glowing and he's on the dance floor and he's feeling good. And I never needed that to talk to girls. I never needed that to be popular. I never needed that to have fun. It wasn't me. And I looked at him. I say, you know what? I said, I'm gonna do it. I go in my pocket. I'm about to do it. I chicken out, throw it in the trash can. Go back 20 minutes later. It's in my mind. Now, you know when something's in your mind. I go back to the trash can and how the fuck in a nightclub,
you found this thing
right there. Like literally, I just looked down. It was right there. Broke it in half, put it in my mouth. I ordered a Michelob Ultra like I drank before, and I was off to the races.
Yeah.
From that day on. That weekend, by the end of the weekend, I was buying 3 for $25 10s. You know what I mean? The 10.365s, the yellow ones. So,
and that's when it wasn't a problem, right? Like that's before we even knew what we were really wrapped up in.
I thought that this was the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
And then before you know it, Monday Night Football comes on. I'm getting high. Tuesday is Quizzo at Stogie Joe's Tavern. I'm getting high. Wednesday, they want to go to Adelphia's in Jersey. I'm getting high. Thursday, football.
Where'd you go to high school?
I went to high school at Newman Goretti. I went to grade school at St. Monica's.
So I know a few of the Newman kids, right? But like, was it big at Newman? Not to say that Roman or Newman was ever bad for letting this stuff happen because they didn't really know, right? But like, it was very like what we were doing in high school. Like, that's how we were like, this is the best thing in the world.
I wouldn't say that it was bad. I would say when we got to my senior prom, like I remember walking into my senior prom, everybody in the bus was throwing up because they were all on perks. Yeah. Like our stomachs all hurt. You know what I mean? So I would say going to my senior year, it did. But everybody then, it was controlled. It wasn't a big deal. Like senior year was fine. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, senior year summer, it just got nasty.
Yeah.
Girls, guys,
and also nobody was dying.
No, nobody was dying.
Don't get me wrong. There was most definitely people overdosing down the way. Right? Yeah. Like that's always been a thing. We weren't there yet, right? But like nobody was dying. So like we didn't know what we were really doing. A good buddy of mine who was actually on here, Jake Hunter, he was prescribed Suboxone in high school, right?
There you go.
But like again, like I just thought I was better than everybody else. I thought that like because I wasn't like a pothead, or if I wasn't like drinking, all the time, that like I was better than you. And turns out like I was withdrawing in high school. I had no idea.
You're dying, and you know what I always said, and you know this, like all them cliches. I'll never do that, or all the motherfucking things came true. Like I remember saying like to my buddy, I'm never snorting a 30. I'm never doing that. I'm never going past a 10. And then all of a sudden 15s, then 20s, and then I'm snorting 30s. And then it was just like, it was over after that. Yeah. Every single thing was going bad.
So I think I have a rough idea of how long you've been sober, but how long did you actually struggle for? Like when did you actually identify it to be an issue?
I would say from the time I was 19 to the time I was 24. That's when it was rough. But I was function. I mean, I always had a job. I always had a girl. I always had a car because I always made enough money to support the habit. Yeah. And then I would say towards 22, 23 is when I started borrowing money off of people. I started not showing up to work. I started losing relationships, and it really got bad when I couldn't get out of bed without snorting 4 perk 30s.
It's crazy. And like, so in a couple weeks here, God willing, I'll have like 10 years sober.
God bless you.
Right. I know just because I did my research, you had 8. Just had 8,
yeah,
right?
September 11th.
Wild day.
Wild day.
Okay. You remember where you were?
Yeah. I was sleeping. Or are you talking about the tragedy of the Twin Towers?
No, yeah. We're in the, not the sobriety date.
Oh.
yeah.
I was in St. Monica's. I'll never forget. The teachers came running in and they turned the TV on.
I know.
And the second plane hit. So that's where I was that day.
Yeah. So I was at the school in Norwood Fontbonne, which is in like Chestnut Hill. It's a very nice school. My mom had to like take loans out to put me there. Yeah. There's like that school, and then there's like St. Monica's, or like where I ended up graduating, St. Bridget's in East Falls.
Okay.
But yeah, they were just like, hey, you're going home, and we were like, what do you mean?
Yeah, we didn't know what was going on.
We went home and like everybody's watching.
I got
the
the chills because it was so. When you're young, you don't really realize what's going on, and then when years go by and you're looking at, you're watching YouTube documentaries and all this stuff, you're like, can't believe this happened.
Can't believe this was on live TV.
I know. Listen, my teacher turned it on. I seen it. I seen the second plane. As a young kid, you don't forget something like that.
Yeah. And we're still dealing with people that like responded to that, right? That are actually still coming in, getting sober.
Yeah.
But whatever, I digress. So you got sober on September 11th.
September 11th.
8 years ago.
8 years ago, after my and this is, I'll get into this too, because this is a main part of my story. In 2014, when I first go away, I'm going to rehab. My parents.
So you weren't one and done?
No.
Okay.
Never. No, wasn't one and done. My parents knew that I needed to go away. I needed to get out of Philly. I just wanted to. I wanted to go. You know what I mean? I finally admitted to myself that I have a problem and I got to go.
Yeah.
My parents didn't want to believe it. My mother's crying. My sister's crying. My dad's showing the South Philly tough love. You know what I mean? But Joey Merlino, just gets home from jail.
Yeah.
And he moves to Boca Raton, Florida.
Okay.
So that's like 2013 area.
Yeah.
So 2014, my parents decide that I got to go away. They know Joey's in Florida. You know, who reaches out to who? I get off the plane. Joey sends somebody to come pick me up. Joey has a restaurant at the time called Merlino's. Was like, I say, it was like my last meal in Florida.
Yeah.
They pick me up. They take me in a restaurant, and I go meet him. Now, I know him my whole life as a kid, my father and him, my grandfather, his father. So it wasn't awkward for me, but I knew when I got there and I seen his face, and another friend of his was there, Joe, who I'm still friends to this day. I love him to death. They weren't, I could say, like, they were mad, but they were more hurt that I was fucked up. Like, what are you doing to yourself?
Imagine what you looked like.
Yeah, like, what are you doing to yourself? Like, are you fucking stupid? And I'll never forget his buddy Joey that was there. Like I said, I'm still friends this day. He took a walk with me and he was like, you have something that other people don't. People that want to help you. He's like, so make this the last fucking time, which unfortunately it wasn't, but something that always stuck to me. And, you know, Joey was like, I'll never forget, a Cadillac Escalade pulls up, black Cadillac Escalade. Guy gets out of the car. He says, I'm here to pick up Joe Perri, take him to Harbor Village, because that's where I was going to detox. Joey gives him $50. Or no, he gave him $100 and said, make sure he calls his parents when he gets there safe. And he looked at me and he said, do me a favor, make sure you get this right. And then that was it. Went there. You know, unfortunately, it didn't work that time, but, you know, it was the first time I tried to get help. And I never realized when you're in the rooms and the meetings and people say every time you go back out, it gets harder and harder. And I'm like, no, that ain't going to happen to me. I'm young. I still got it. You know what I mean?
Just got a fresh oil change. That should be good.
I'm 22 years old. I got my whole life ahead of me. I'm fine. And then, like, you know, you relapse. But when I went to Florida first time, I stayed for 38 days. I stayed for Thanksgiving and Christmas. It was...
Wow.
Listen, I cried.
Especially from being from like an Italian family.
Listen to me. I cried like a baby. I ain't scared to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're there at a holiday and you're used to being with your family,
mm-hmm.
I'm like, look, what did I do to myself?
Dude, I used to open up like these every single time, whether I AMA'd, whether I stayed for 30 days, whether I stayed for 38 days, whether I stayed for 17 or just detox only. Yeah. Every single time I went to treatment, my mom would handwrite a card every single day.
Ugh.
Do you read about crunch? I don't. As much as like it pains me to say it, I don't know where those cards are now. Yeah. But like when I would when I would open them up in treatment, dude, like yeah, I'm talking baby.
Oh yeah, yeah. Weird.
Staring at myself in the mirror, like you piece of shit. Like, how the hell did you? And still would get high afterwards.
Yeah, because it don't matter.
And it's like that's what people don't understand, right? Is like
they don't.
It's not about like me knowing what's right and wrong and like wanting this thing. There's so much more to
being in this business, being in the podcast world, or just dealing with people in general, like car sales or whatever I was doing in my life. When people always say to me, like, my son, I don't understand what's wrong with him. What's wrong with him is he doesn't want to stop getting high yet. There's something in your brain, and I truly believe that, like, when I had enough, something just clicked, and it was just, it was fucked up.
Yeah.
Like, I'm saying to myself, like, 22 years old, you know, I had a girl at the time, we were engaged, that got destroyed, bought a house at a young age, destroyed, cars getting repoed, you know, everything that they say, you put in a blender and it goes, you know. And the last time, I went away 4 times, like I said, I went to Florida, Miramont twice, and then I went to Malvern. Did it come off? And I went to Malvern, was my last stop, and I loved it. I loved Malvern. I thought the program was great, just everything about it. But the
King Road or Willow Grove?
Willow Grove.
Okay.
But the night before, what happened was I had no intention on going. And I woke up, it was September 11th morning, and I come downstairs. My mom opens my bedroom door because I'm living at my parents' house. I'm on the couch because I don't have anything. I was like, get downstairs right now. So I walk downstairs, my sister, my dad, and my mom, and there's a piss cup on there. And it's filled already. I'm like, how the fuck did that happen? In the middle of the night, I took a piss. My mom went behind me. She scooped it, her and my father.
Oh, wow.
And it lit up everything.
Yep.
So I come downstairs and I'm like stunned, but like something, I'll never forget. I was in my kitchen. I was like leaning on the sink and I was like, take me to rehab. And my mom and sister were like, what do you mean? I'm like, take me right now. I don't want to, I'm done. And my dad's like, no, you ain't going to rehab. You're going to detox upstairs. I said, well, I'll kill myself because that ain't going to work. You know what I mean? And my mom and sister were like, we'll call. Malvern had a bed. I said, of course, before I go, let me stop somewhere. I robbed him. I hit him with the drive-by. The money out the window, give it to me. It was short, and I just took off right there. And when I got to Malvern, I say, you know what? That's it. Something in my mind just clicked and was like, I'm done.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's experiences there, tragedy. When I was there, my father took a heart attack in Malvern.
Jesus.
And I had to leave 18 days in. And my buddy picked me up. I always tell the story.
Wait, did dad pass?
No.
Okay.
He didn't, but they called me down to the counselor's office and told me.
Yeah.
However it happened, the way she said it to me, the lady, and it was not her fault. She said, you know, we have bad news. And I said, what happened? And she said, your father took a heart attack and we don't think he's going to make it. So when you hear them words, it's, you know, it's your father, it's your mother, your sister, whatever. Yeah. I got to go. Call my mom. She's like, you're not leaving. You know, we'll let you know what happens. You know, the whole thing can't be on the phone. So I remember one phone number. I always say his phone number on the podcast. I ain't going to say it no more. And my buddy Ray, who's my best friend growing up, his house number.
Yeah.
Call it 3 times, he's not answering. He's mad at me. I leave a voicemail. I tell him the situation. He came to Malvern. He was there in an hour. Bags in the car. Go to hospital, see my father. Wires all over him. Massive heart attack, putting stents in him. I looked at him. I said, Dad, listen to me. I will never drink or get high ever again. That's it. Something in my mind. I don't know if it was the tragedy or already I decided that, but from that day on, I stayed straight and sober.
Yeah.
That was it.
I mean, that's like, you want to talk about God, dude. Like, that's some wild
weird
stuff.
I believe in God. If you don't believe in God, that's what you believe in, and whoever you believe in. I don't care if you believe in Bryce Harper.
I believe in moments of clarity. I believe in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I was raised Catholic like you were, right? I don't know. When I got sober, it was more like love, karma, nature, right? Like, it was like, I got to, like, you know, I did a lot of damage, right? So I know that, like, there's a heavy debt to pay. But yeah, I mean, it's God, right?
It's so weird. Everything in life, I feel like, happens for a reason. I do. And I hate when people say that, you know, but it's the truth. Like, patience is everything. And when I got sober, I had no patience. I wanted it right then and there. I wanted money. I wanted a girl. I wanted a house. I wanted a car. I wanted everything. And then my first sponsor was a professional basketball player, Isaiah Wilson. Black guy, still alive till this day. He's in his 80s.
AA or NA guy?
AA.
Okay.
Took me to my first meeting. Okay. He said to me, I'm going to tell you one thing and one thing only. And I met him in the union because I was a stagehand at one point in my life.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I was a stagehand too. I had so many jobs. You know, and I did them for a long time.
Yeah.
He took me to the Dixon house. I was the only white person there. And why I say that is because I don't believe in race. Everybody's the same to me. When I walked there, they made me feel so welcomed, made me get up there and share. And I got my white coin and the whole thing. And he told me the only thing I'm going to tell you is have patience. Whatever you want is going to come. All you have to do is one thing. And I said to him, what's that? Don't pick up. And he's like, it sounds hard, but it's not. It's the easiest program in the world.
Yeah.
And it's the truth.
So you went back home from Malvern? Like, you were living back home, or you went to Dixon house?
I never went to a recovery house.
Good for you.
Never went to a recovery house. And that's not by design. My father wouldn't allow me to. So my dad's old school South Philly Italian. Ain't nobody taking care of my son. Ain't nobody telling me what I got to do with my kid. You know what I mean? That's how he was. So that was like, you know, Father John reached out, you know, make him come live, you know, absolutely not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was like, you're coming home. I'm going to watch you. And I said, Dad, you could be with me 24/7. And you were with me 24/7. And I was having people leave drugs in the bathroom at the restaurant we were in.
Yeah.
It don't matter. When I want to be sober, I'm going to be sober. And, you know, I wind up moving back home. And, you know, I got to be honest with you, in like, it happened fast. In like a year, my life changed.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I started to feel myself.
Listen, and I say it all the time, and I say it to a lot of the new guys that I, like, you know, I frequently see. It's like, we're I don't want to say drug addicts and alcoholics, but like that's exactly what we are, right? Like we suffer from this thing. Like we bounce back quick.
And that's the scary part.
And if we don't know what to do with that, it can be really dangerous. I feel like a lot of like the good lives that we're living sends us out all the time. At least that's what I've seen in the past.
It's the truth.
But yeah, we bounce back quick.
Like they have the memes. You're not a hustler until you lose everything and you get it back. And it happens like, and in my life today, like, when I was, how can I say it? Like I had nothing, I was living on my parents' couch. I'm sure same thing. I had somebody reach out to me. My sister's best friend's father reached out and said, I think you'd be good at selling cars. I was in the restaurant business. I was in the union.
Kids? Who are you selling?
Chevys. For less. That's where the Chevys for less came from.
Yeah.
And I said, let me take this opportunity. And the car business saved my life. And I say that because I needed a structure. I needed to work from 9 in the morning till 9 at night, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Wild hours. Off Thursday, back to work Friday and Saturday, off Sunday. Because I needed to get my mind off everything and come home and go right to bed. That's what I needed. And that's what the car business did for me. On top of giving me a ton of money that I made, a better life and everything else, it changed everything for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, dude, selling cars is wild.
Wild. It was great. Listen, I had the most fun probably in my life in the car business.
I'm sure.
I worked at the same dealership for 9 years, which is nearly impossible with the same management staff. I was a salesman for 4 years, a manager for the last 4. We all stayed together. Like,
what dealership were you at?
Mall Chevrolet in Cherry Hill. It just got sold to another dealership now, but we had a ball. But I mean to tell you, like Christmas parties, and my first Rolex was from the dealership. I won a contest, and it was just like everything that happened in my life happened for a reason, and then I'll get into, when you're ready to talk about the podcast, because that happened close to the car dealership too.
Yeah. I mean, so you already alluded to the fact that you've known Joey for years.
My whole life. I'm 32. So
really that whole connection's from like your family?
From my family, yeah. We're South Philly. South Philly's a small place, and in our like little area, it's like everybody knows each other.
Yeah.
I always worked at the saloon. I was, a bus boy, and I was just always around. My father had hangouts, card games, horses. Everybody was always here. Joey was always there. So I was a young kid breaking balls. Like he would play cards, and I would run by him. I would hit the cards out of his hand.
So wait, where'd Little Snuff come from?
My father's Big Snuff.
Okay.
So my father got his nickname because there was a dog running down the street named Snuffy. Okay. The dog was running down the street, and my dad was like 10 years old. They started chasing the dog. Well, my dad didn't know what was going on. He was a kid. They screamed the dog's name, Snuffy, come here. My dad turned around. My uncle said, that's your name, Snuff.
No shit.
Just like that. And then when I was born, everybody called me Little Snuff.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Okay. I always wondered that. I was like, where the fuck Little Snuff
came from my father.
Because like every neighborhood's got wild
nicknames.
Yeah. Like we grew up with a kid. He'll probably never see it. Doesn't matter. But his nickname was Feces.
Feces?
What a nickname.
Did he shit himself?
I don't know where it came from. I just know that his nickname was Feces, right? And
everybody has a nickname.
My boy Murph, right? God rest his soul. Like best dude ever. Especially when he was sober. But like he's the one that told me. He was like, so and so. His nickname was Feces. I was like, Feces?
That's great. That's a crazy nickname.
Yeah, it's wild. But,
everybody. That's where the nickname came from.
Yeah. But anyway, so talk about the podcast. How'd that all come to? So because there's no way Joey was just like, yeah, let's do a podcast.
No,
that'd be great.
It was totally opposite of that. What happened was somebody approached Joey to make a movie about his life. He said no. They approached him to make a book. He said no. Kevin Connolly, who started Entourage as okay, he goes golfing in Boca Raton at the Boca Resort. Joey's there. His friend Patrick's there. And like my uncle, best friend, whatever you want to call him, Wags, he's there. Kevin Connolly says to Joey, you'd be great to do a podcast. He says, what the fuck's a podcast? He don't know what a podcast is. Listen.
And he was locked up for a number of years. He has no clue.
He don't know what a podcast is. He said, a podcast is going to be the newest thing. There's going to be no more TV. Everybody's going to be doing podcasts. No newspapers, no more. No radio shows, podcasts. Joey's like, I ain't doing that. It's just not me. I don't want to do it. Wags comes home and he says a comment to me. He says, they asked Joey to make a book and a movie. He said, no, but then they said something about this podcast. He's like, you watch podcasts? I'm like, yeah. I said, sports podcasts, whatever. He's like, you think that would be a good idea? I think it would be a great idea. And I said it like it would be a great idea, like with no intention that I was involved in this.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Wags knew in the back of his mind already that this was something that we could do. So like a week passed and we're setting up the club and Joey calls Wags. He says, they're asking me to do this fucking podcast, but they keep saying to me that I need a sidekick.
Yeah.
So Wags and Joey are on the phone. I'm in the background and like, I didn't want to overstep my boundary and be like, I could do it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Joey turns around to Wags and goes, Little Snuff? So Wags goes, yeah, Little Snuff. He could do it. So I'm sitting there and I said, Joe, I said, it would be a good idea. I said, well, he goes, all right, well, give me your idea what you want to do. What would you do? And I come up with pasta and parlays. I wanted to talk about food and sports.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, nah, fuck that. I ain't doing it. I said, all right, it's his life.
Mm-hmm.
2 weeks later, I'm sitting in work at Mall Chevy. I get a phone call from a California number. I don't answer it. It's fucking somebody I must owe money to, a telemarketer.
Yeah.
Wags calls me like 10 times in a row because I'm closing a deal. I finally answer. He's like, send all your fucking content right now to this number. They want to do a podcast and they want you on it. I'm like, to who? He's like, Kevin Connolly from Entourage. I'm like, really? My wife's working there at the time with me. I run in the back. I'm like, tell her real fast.
Mm-hmm.
Send all the videos. I get a phone call from Kevin Connolly. He's like, you're the guy. I said, for what? He says, we're making a podcast. I said, really? He's like, yeah, now this was Tuesday. He says, send me your driver's license. I'm booking a flight Thursday to Florida. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
That is how the podcast started.
No shit.
Nobody knew about it besides Joey, Wags, me, my wife, and Kevin Connolly. I didn't tell my parents, my sister, nobody. I said I had to go to Florida on Thursday. When I came home from Florida on Thursday, I said, I'll tell you guys what's going on.
Yeah.
And that's when I told my parents.
No shit. What'd they say?
When I told them, I said, I'm making a podcast.
You're going to do a podcast?
And my mom has no idea what a podcast is.
Yeah.
My dad really doesn't know what a podcast is, but my sister was there and they're like, podcast? I said, yeah, me and Joey are going to do a podcast. And they're like looking at me like, he's not going to do it. I said, no, we filmed it already. We did episode 1.
Yeah.
And they were like all excited. You know what I mean? Like they didn't know what was going to happen.
How much has the podcast changed from when you first, like that first episode?
Well, the first episode, I wouldn't say we were nervous, but we were awkward because he has never did anything like this.
Mm-hmm.
And I have did
car commercials. He is a great, like, not even character because it's him, right? But like he's got the best one-liners ever. Yeah. He's fucking funny. Mm-hmm. All he wants to do is have a good time and laugh and talk sports. Yeah.
You know what I mean? We go out deep, but when we first did it, like, it's me and him now. I'm looking at him right in his face.
Mm-hmm.
And I said to him, what the fuck are we going to do? He's like, let's just do it.
Yeah.
Cameras are on us. I'm sweating, nervous wreck. And the first episode, you could see we were like awkward. And now fucking 62 episodes in, it's like crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they also say the podcasts don't last. Majority of them don't last like 8 episodes.
Yeah. Literally, they had us dead. We made the news. We were on every forum, Reddit, and everything. After episode 3, they don't got no content.
Mm-hmm.
And then after episode 1, I came to Joey and I said, Joe, why don't we switch this up a little bit? Why don't I tell your life story through court documents that the crimes that they're said that you got found not guilty of and you were acquitted of, because the paper don't like to say anything good about him. He was found not guilty and acquitted. We could tell them stories. And then he wanted to mix in the people who ratted on him. And I said, I think it's a good mix. And it
takes off.
It skyrocketed.
And it's still taking off.
Till this day.
So how have you used, because I'm pretty sure, right, that like you've put like where you work, like into the podcast, you've mixed that in, right? Like how do you use all that to also talk about like what you went through?
So what happened was, just to back up a little bit, I was in the car business.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast came out. Not the owner of the dealership, the general manager.
Okay.
He didn't like the podcast. He didn't like the idea of it, which I was doing on my spare time. So he tortured me. And then he found out that I liked Trump and Joey liked Trump, and it was over. My career was over there. He tortured me. And because he lives in Delaware, he loved Biden.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. Quit. Gone. I'm driving home.
After 9 years.
After 9 years. I'm driving home and I get a text message from Mark Warner from Tribe. And he's like, and we were talking prior to this a little bit friendly, because he's from 2nd Street. We're in a bullshit. His grandmother loved the show. Shout out to her. She's the best.
Mm-hmm.
He says, what are you doing? I said, I'm driving home right now from work. I said, I just lost my job. He's like, what? And I said, yeah, I lost my job. They don't like the podcast and they don't like anything that it represents. He's like, do me a favor. Don't do anything today. I said, all right. He said, I'm going to call you tomorrow with my buddy Ken Link.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next day, me and my wife, well, first I walk home. My wife worked with me too. We walked out together.
Yeah.
Come home, my parents like, what happened? I explained to them, yada, yada, yada.
We're unemployed. Don't worry about it.
I'm unemployed.
Yeah.
That's it. I'll be fine. I always figure it out. Joey, I know Joey's got my back. He said, listen to me. We're going to be fine. That's all I needed to hear. And on top of it, I wanted to make sure Joey knew that I was 100% invested in this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I ain't going to leave you out to dry, just like you're not going to leave me out to dry. So fuck that job and let's hit the ground running.
Yeah.
Next day I wake up, Mark calls me, says, yo, can you come up to Tribe? I don't know nothing about Tribe in Marlton and meet me and my partner, Ken Link. I say, yeah, why? Yeah, I'll talk to you when you get here. Walk in, starts talking to me. He's like, yeah, you know, what's going on? Blah, blah. And I explained to him, he's like, I think you'd be great, you know, to draw up business for Tribe.
Mm-hmm.
You're in recovery, you know, you got a lot of people that you know, you have a platform, you know, everything's going to social media now. Nobody's spending money on TV for ads.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, would you be interested in Ken, who I meet that day? He's making me feel just comfortable, like just a good dude. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He's explaining to me everything, him and Mark. And I'm like, all right, I say, you know what? I'll let you guys know. And, you know, if we could do something, we'll do something. So I leave. I tell my wife, they were great. Mark was great. Ken was great. Call me back 2 days later. I go in again to talk to Mark and Ken again because he was up here from Florida, Ken, and we agree. And I took the job.
Love that.
And everything happens for a reason. If Mark don't text me that day driving home that I lost my job, am I ever a Tribe?
No, he probably. I mean, you would have found something else to do, right? Like he probably would have missed it.
Yeah.
Where's the connection with you and Mark? Like where'd that all?
The podcast.
Because he's not from. Oh wait, is he?
Yeah, he's from Second Street. Mark's whole family's from Second Street. Yeah. So I knew of Mark.
But he's Irish.
What's that mean?
I don't know. I mean, listen, I went to Rome, and you know what I mean? It was always like a thing.
Oh, listen, we love Irish.
I don't know. 1J6, Second Street, or 2 Street, whatever you call it.
Well, that was a big battle back in the day, but everybody's friends now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That was when you really fought, though. There was no guns. There was no knives. Everybody would fist fight. You would shake hands after. Then you would be drinking a 40 with them. So
it was like that in high school, too.
Yeah, that's how it should be.
I don't even know. Is there even fist fights anymore?
I would doubt it if I had to say. Nobody plays outside, so how could there be a fight? They're all inside doing video games.
Scary times.
Yeah, very scary.
Right, so Mark's from South Philly.
Mark's from South Philly, and we just connected through there. That was it.
Okay.
And he was when you meet somebody in your life, and I mean this, like somebody who's just a good person, like that's him. He is and you never hear nobody talk bad about him. You never hear words, and when you see somebody and they don't talk bad about anybody else, that's the guy you want to be around.
Yeah.
And that's him. And especially Ken too. Like I hit it off with Ken. We talk all the time.
Ken was on this. Yeah.
Great. So it was a good fit. And I parlayed that into the podcast with recovery because, Joey drinks, he smokes cigarettes. That's all he does. Yeah. But me with the recovery thing, I fill that into the podcast when it needs to be filled in. You know what I mean? I talk about it. I make sure everybody knows I'm in recovery. Like when we go out, and there's been times, we could be out till 2:00 in the morning. Joey's like, all right, it's time for you to go home.
Yeah.
Like 12, like I don't say up past 10 o'clock. He knows I'm in bed, So I always
Joey still got it though. He can still hang.
Joey can hang for 3 days straight and sleep about 2 hours, and he's fresher than me and you. He's built different.
I think and I don't know, and this might contradict a lot of thoughts, right? But like, I think it's because of sobriety, right? Like I really envy being at home. I envy like shutting it down.
Listen,
I went in like the UFC fights. I went over to my boy Johnny Butler's house, right? And I was with my boy McDowell. I mean, you might know Andrew McDowell.
Yeah. Johnny Butler's got a roofing company, right? Yeah, great roofing company, I heard. Yeah, he's a good guy.
And like we're out there and I'm like, yo, what time's the main event come on? And they tell me the time. And I'm like, 12:00.
Yeah, it's dead.
And McDowell drove me. And I'm like, yo, brother, you got to get me an Uber.
Yeah,
dude.
I'm out of here.
You got me. I'm tired.
Listen, I could go home. I swear to God, when I say this, they make fun of me. Say, I can't wait to put the shorts on and lay in bed with my wife and dog. I could lay it and just in my house with my wife. I got an English bulldog. So he makes you feel comfortable.
I know that now too, because it's 4th birthday.
Yeah, 4th birthday. My wife threw a party for him. I'd rather do that. Well, I'd rather do a couple other things, maybe parlays. But I'd rather do that mainly than go anywhere. I like to go to dinner, and I like to be home by 10 o'clock. I'm in bed sleeping by 10:30 every night.
Would you say that it's always been like that, or do you think it's more recent because of like everything that goes on? I mean, just because I can't imagine your phone, right?
My phone don't stop.
I can't imagine like all that, like your life, like a lot of like what you do for work, a lot of everything, right? Is right here.
And thank God that my wife is supportive and the best person ever, because I don't know how she deals with me. You know what I mean? Between the travel, the phone, work, videos, screaming, hollering, like it's a lot. So I try at 10 o'clock at night, like, you know, if she's on TikTok in bed, I'll go on TikTok 10, 15 minutes, you know, just to wind down. And then me and her, we just sit in bed, we talk, and, you know, we're with the dog. Because I think I've been married now 4 years. You know, I've been with her for a little bit now. I needed that in my life, and I needed her, and I never knew her a day in my life. So everything just worked out for a reason.
Was she your boss?
No, I was her boss.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
but she worked in the service department, but like as a manager, everybody works for you. You know what I mean? But I told her to come work there at the time. It was never awkward. We worked in 2 separate places.
No, I'm just busting your balls. Yeah.
When we were quitting, I went to her first.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm about to walk in this office and, you know, I'm going to get fired. She said, no. She said, don't get fired. She said, tell him to go fuck himself and let's go. So she was ready. Like, let's go. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
You need that.
Rider.
Rider. Yeah. 100%. 100%. Great person, you know, and she never went out with nobody in recovery. So I had to explain to her before we went on our first date, like, I'm in recovery. I don't know if you think that's awkward or weird. And at first she was like, I never dated somebody, you know, that didn't drink. You know what I mean? So, and she's a little older than me. So it took me 6 months for her to convince her to go out with me. And then it worked out for the best.
Yeah. I mean, again, dude, everything happens
for a reason,
you know? I'll even take it one further. I think everything happens exactly how it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just don't like it in the moment, you know?
You know, I like, and this is weird to say, I don't know if you feel this way. When something happens and it's not good, I actually like it because I want to fight through it. I like when my back's against the wall. When I'm comfortable and I got money, I'm the worst. When my back's against the wall and I know my mortgage is due, I am a bear.
I mean, and this is like, it might get like really deep into like, some people will be like, well, that's character defects, this, that, and the third, right? But yeah. Right. Cause like we thrive in the pressure. We thrive in the chaos.
I love it.
We thrive. Like, you know, I'm just scheming in a different way. Yeah. You know? And like, we're able to string it together quick.
Quick. I
never,
I don't
think people, I do.
Oh no.
I do.
Bad.
Yeah.
You take any like medicine?
So I'm on an antidepressant, right? Mental health. Like I definitely am like an advocate for like, you know, people like going to see doctors,
of
whatever.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely.
But I not at all, like I didn't always used to be like that. I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like I was just an untreated alcoholic. I had to do all this stuff. Then I went through my own mental health stuff and I was like, this shit's real.
Yeah.
Not so much nerves, but like, just like most recently, more just like generalized anxiety.
You know what I mean? I never.
When like nobody believes me because they're like, really? You don't come off like that? I'm like, I'm telling you.
Yeah, like you don't.
Yeah, like, I'm telling you.
I never have anxiety and I never get nervous. It's weird. Like, and I feel like when I'm under pressure is like when I'm the best. And when I'm, how can you say, like content, I'm the worst. When all my bills are paid.
Content, I'm just like, I'm lazy.
Yeah, when all my bills are paid and I got money in my pocket and everything's going good, I'm like, this sucks. I want to fight. I want to come from behind. Like there's a vacation. Let's say we're going to Aruba and it's $8,000 and I have zero. I'm the best. I'll come up with that 8,000.
We're still going, huh?
Yeah, like we're going. Don't worry about it. I tell my wife all the time. She thinks I'm crazy. I'm like, what are you worried about? It's going to happen.
Yeah,
we're fine.
I was just having a conversation with my wife about it, and just because like things have been tight, right? Yeah. And I'm just like, and she's like, "What are you worried about? Like we have everything we need." And I'm like, "That's not okay."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's not that I have anything on the agenda. Yeah. It's like, you know, when my banking account gets to a certain number, I'm like, this ain't good.
Yeah,
you know?
you start feeling the pressure a little bit.
Because I always go to what if something happens. You know what I mean?
And that's the right way to think. The way.
Yeah.
Other ways that we think is not normal because we aren't normal.
No, we're definitely not.
Definitely not.
Definitely not normal. So we covered a lot, right? What about like, what's the next couple of years look like? Where's the podcast going? Where's Little Snuff going? Like, are you going to open up your own thing? You're going to do like, you know, like you're going to be the next, who else does it? I'm like the Situation's starting something now. Like, you know, like everybody's like opening up their own thing.
What I would like to do, Skinny Joey's Cheesesteaks, get that open, get that off the ground. Joey has good ideas with franchising it. What I want to get us into, and this is my goal, would us to do like a live broadcast out of Lincoln Financial Field, Wells Fargo Center, Citizens Bank Park. Because let's say what is it? It's no shot to anyone else, but these guys that are doing the live they've been around since I've been in grade school. They're boring. You know what I mean? You need
There's a ton of people that look forward to it.
Yeah.
Right. But like, again, it kind of goes back to your original statement with like TV being a thing of the past, or like, like cable being a thing of the past.
Yeah. You want to watch Michael Barkan, or you're going to watch Joey?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, it's somebody you could relate to, somebody that's funny. It's not that serious.
I haven't gone that much into it, but like, would you be unbiased, or would you be like, it would be two Philly guys?
No, to be honest with you, we're really not biased on Philly, because when you're a gambler, you can't be. It's wherever you lay your hat at night with your money. But, we're always into sports, and we're going to give it a fair share. I think that it would just work out to the best. And I think that the way to do it, and my vision is, like, if you could do a live show where people could come and eat a cheesesteak, and we hopefully one day they are going to sell beer, because down the stadium, that's what it is. You could get a beer, eat a cheesesteak, watch Skinny Joey and Little Snuff talk about sports, and then after watch a podcast live, all for $10 that you bought a cheesesteak for, $15.
Actually, a really good idea.
Think about it. You know what I mean? And it switches everything up. And then I would say more into, like, with the social media with me, probably more commercials, because I do a lot of commercials and advertising, and, maybe one day get like a role in some type of show. I don't know. See what happens.
Yeah. I mean, dude, listen, none of it's possible without, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, what did it look like right before you got sober? Right? Like, you weren't doing
right before I got sober.
If somebody would have told you 8 years from now, they'd be like, hey, you're going to be doing a podcast. You're going to be what do they call them? Influencers at this point, right? Call it whatever it is, but that's what it's known as.
That's what it is.
Like, you would have been like, what?
I'd be like, no,
there's no way.
Especially when
I'm a stagehand.
Yeah, especially when you're in addiction. It's like, you ain't buying no clothes, you ain't buying new sneakers, you're not doing anything. You're not worried about yourself. So I would probably say that. And then I would say later in life, I would want to open up a barbershop, because I love getting my hair cut. Like, that's the thing.
Do you cut hair?
No.
Okay.
I would just want to open it and just call it Snuffies. Have like 6, 7 barbers in there, sports on all day, like the real barbershop, like the movie, like the whole thing. Like, it's just breaking balls. It's fun. You're watching sports all day.
It's almost a thing of the past now, though. Right?
I don't know how. Like these kids don't even get their haircuts.
Well, that too.
It's insane.
But everything's like, I make my appointment, and I'm the worst with that, right? But I make my appointment on the phone, right? I show up, I'm in the chair, I got my time, and I'm going.
I have the same time every week too.
Yeah.
But you got to keep that neighborhood feeling alive. Like the neighborhoods that you used to drive down the street, and you used to see people playing half ball and stick ball and chink, and in the playground, and like, I would love to drive home right now and see 15 kids outside of 60 and Jackson drinking 40s.
So I would love it. So I have twin daughters, right? They're 7. Okay. I pulled up today. I was on a vicious phone call, right? There wasn't really much God in the car at the moment. But I pull up and I'm like, is that my daughter? Yeah, no, it is, right? And there's a whole crew of them.
Yeah.
We're in a cul-de-sac. We're in a King of Prussia. It's beautiful. But like, there's a whole crew of them. And then when I went upstairs, like, you can hear them talking about whatever they're talking about. And I'm like, this is pretty wild, because you don't see it that often.
No,
anymore.
Never. Yeah. I hope tonight's mischief night. I hope when I drive home, I get hit with 33 eggs. I would love it. I tell my wife when it snows out, when we're driving around, where's the kids throwing snowballs at cars?
Septibuses. That's where we grew up on.
Like, that's all I looked forward to.
You tried to make it as hard as you. I mean, this is horrible to say.
I know.
You tried to make it as hard as you possibly could.
Or if you've seen a taxi, you would just crush them.
Well, so we didn't have many. We had Germantown Cab.
Oh, we would crush them.
But yeah, no. So I grew up in like Germantown, Mount Airy. I say Roxborough, Manayunk, because that's where I like hung out. And I wasn't proud to say that I was from like Germantown.
Yeah.
But yeah, you would try to smoke a septibus. If you could break the window, you were the man.
Yeah, you were the man. You would talk about it for 3 weeks.
Nobody ever broke it, but like,
I can't believe though the way times change and all. And I say it all the time, like, and we talk about it on the podcast, like, these kids that are growing up now, what do they do? It's just video games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's crazy.
Well, think about it, because there's also our generation that's on video games.
I never played them. I was never into them.
So I was into them a little bit, never enough to be good, right? But I gave it a real college try when I was during COVID.
Yeah.
And I still stunk. And I think my wife came downstairs one time and she was like, I didn't know I married a child.
Yeah, like,
and I was like, all right, I guess this is done.
Yeah, it's done. I never was into them. Like, I always wanted to go out. Have fun, get girls, never get into a fist fight, just have fun. You know what I mean? And my neighborhood back then, we had like 2 good bars. Fatso's was on 18th and Oregon, and then we had Wolf Street, which was like a nightclub, morning, noon, and night.
Yeah.
It was just a good time. So, like, there would be 150, 200 kids in a bar. We were 18 to 21 years old. I mean, now the bar's closed. You could talk about it. Like, I couldn't believe at that time, like, the cops weren't coming in there. Like, but They knew where we were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We weren't getting in trouble.
It was the same thing as like if you were going to Port Richmond, right?
Yeah.
They were at the backfields or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They all knew what they were doing there.
Correct.
But they weren't breaking our stones. They weren't breaking anybody. You know what I mean?
The cops got the easiest job now because they're not even out hanging on the corners. It's crazy.
So my brother was Philly PD.
Okay.
I think most recently he went to Hapro Hapro. And he just made detective. So shout out Sean Woods. You're the man.
God bless him.
Complete so we had the same dad, right? Different moms. But like I went like this way and was like the perfect picture of like what you should not be growing up.
Perfect.
And I don't think he ever touched anything.
And you were probably their favorite. That's a shame.
Well, no, not even because like my dad it's a whole nother thing, right? But like when we both went to Rome and he was a few years before me.
Yeah.
So when I went to Rome, I was known frequently as Woods' brother.
Okay.
And they thought I was everything. And I'm like, no, I don't play football. I play soccer. I play soccer and baseball. But then when I turned out to be like going this way, it was like, I'm sure I can't imagine like the people that were like going up to him, like,
what happened to your brother?
Your brother shot out.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was Philly PD too. And it was scary stuff.
Oh, well,
like, really scary stuff.
Yeah. I honestly can't wait for this election to be over. So all this is over and the text messages every fucking day and the phone calls.
So you're getting blasted too.
Oh, dude, it's sickening. It really is sick. It really is.
It's really,
I can't wait for it to be over.
The best part is that like whoever's texting you, right? Because I'm not big enough to say who I'm voting for, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah.
But the best part is like if you send us $10, we're beat them.
Oh, I know.
It's like my $10 is going to beat them.
It's just crazy. It's all money related. We just did an episode with Roger Stone. Did you ever hear Roger Stone?
Yeah.
Great dude. It comes out tomorrow at 1:00. He's been around in politics since Nixon. Like he knows so much stuff about politics and not even politics, just history. I learned more from him yesterday than I learned my whole school career because, excuse me, the guy's got knowledge of everything. So I just can't wait for it all to be done. And hopefully the world goes back to normal or whatever, but who knows?
Whatever, man. Is there anything you want to say before we shut it down? I know we did a lot of plugs, right? We talked about a lot of people. I didn't even say my thing. I didn't even do the YouTube thing yet.
I know.
So if you like what we had to say, right, and you're still hanging around, you're still listening to this, like us on Instagram, Pain W Purpose, at Pain W Purpose, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, Pain with a Purpose podcast. Going to try to really like switch it up this season, right? So we're going to try to talk a little bit more about like what people do, right, outside of not only their pain but really like talk more about the purpose, right? Yeah. And essentially that's kind of what we talked about the entire episode.
The only thing I would leave it off with to the people that are watching, like if you want to do something and it don't feel like you should do it and it's uncomfortable, that's really what you should be doing because that always works for you. Like I didn't want to go out and start screaming and making Chevy commercials. I felt awkward. I felt like everybody was going to say something about me. But at the end of the day, I know that it was the right thing for me to do. And I'm one of them people, I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry, can I curse?
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody...
You just did, then you're going to apologize afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't care what anybody has to say about me. I still don't to this day. I don't read a comment on any video I post. And if you go on my videos, there's hateful comments.
So I was actually thinking about that.
Yeah.
Like driving over here, I was like... Because I think today, most recently, I was doing a little bit more research, right? Like trying to figure out, like, you know, if there was any talking points. And I remember the most recent one that you did, I couldn't tell you what you were talking about. I know you were screaming in the phone, walking down whatever street you were on. My first thought was like what you just said, like, hey, you don't care.
Don't care.
My first thought was like, imagine seeing Joe Perri walk down the street and him just screaming at his phone.
I probably have to stop it 3 different times because either a car pulls up and they notice who it is. They scream, they're chanting.
Yeah.
People come out of their house and they want to hear it. You know, like I live in South Philly. So some people that watch the podcast and they're not really from South Philly, it's crazy to say this. They actually drive by my street that run into me. And I think it's great. And we laugh and we have fun and we joke with them. But like, if you look at the comments on my videos, some of them and Joey's videos, they talk shit. They're trolls. You know, whatever
I was going with it. Yeah. So it's like, I can't imagine.
I don't
you know what I mean?
answer them. I don't respond. I don't even look. It means nothing to me. But they are so stupid that they don't realize that every comment they leave gets me into a bigger algorithm. So keep doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you're a young kid today and you want to start a podcast and you want to get into the recovery field and you want to get clean and sober, reach out. There's people everywhere. And I always tell people that's like, no matter how big anybody is, DM them, call them, message them. Just tell them, listen, I need help. The right people in this world are going to get back to you and say, listen, what do you need? I'm here to help you. Always reach out before it's too late because right now with they're lacing all these drugs with, and the mental health that's it could be your last day today. So
the stuff that they're lacing it with, man, is just not, it's not okay.
No.
Like, and I don't understand like why they're doing it, or like what the whole thought process behind it, right?
Evil.
Like, we're already hooked.
Yeah.
Why make it like
Evil.
that much worse, you know? But just to kind of touch on what you said, and then we'll shut it down. It was like, for the longest time, like I thought so much about like what people thought about me, right? I said it in a previous episode. I used to do like motivating, like when I was like really early sober, right?
Yeah.
Like I would, when Facebook statuses were a big deal.
Big thing, yeah.
They still are a big deal for some people, which is funny. But like I would just post like a motivational thing, right? And it wasn't that like I was trying to like sound like I was recreating my life, and really it was just like something I liked. I posted it,
of course,
whatever. But somebody would like, you know, comment on it and be like, "Yeah, all right, dude, we get it."
Yeah.
I'm like, "All right, that's done. That was short lived, right?" You know. So like, you know, but it all came to a head like, I don't know, like a year ago, where it was like, who the fuck cares?
The people
like,
that are
cares?
comment are the people that really want to do it. They just don't have the balls to do it.
Right. I mean, that, or like, again, who cares? Like, I don't care, you know, because at the end of the day, like I'm still okay, you know, and it's like,
and you will be okay.
You know, I held myself back for so many years because I cared so much about what you thought about me that I was like not willing to take a shot anywhere.
And people that are younger, they are living that way, and you can't live that way. You can't do that. You can't do it. Like, just get out there and do what you want to do. Who cares what people are going to say? Because at the end of the day,
they're going to say something anyway.
Exactly. They're going to say something regardless. And
people were talking about me when I was shot out, right? Why wouldn't I do it now when I'm doing well and I actually have like a message to kind of portray, right? And my message is not better than anybody else's. But like, if I have a platform to do it, why not?
Exactly. And like with my platform, like there was a video today somebody made. They said that I'm homeless and I'm a streetwalker. Like they made a whole video about that. You know how sick and demented you have to be to make a video about that? You're so fucking far off.
You're renting a lot of space in their head that they were actually like
made a whole video.
It's kind of funny that they put it. You know what I mean?
I woke up like 2 months ago. My phone was ringing. Fox 29 News made a story about me, like a crazy story that something happened to me in the casino. I haven't been to that casino all summer. Like, it's just people starting trouble. That's really what it is.
It's always going to be something.
Always. And I keep it coming. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the chaos.
When's the date for the cheesesteaks?
We're hoping for 8 weeks. We're hoping for right after Thanksgiving, really. I mean, with the city, the permits, the construction, the workers, there's so much that goes into it. I mean, we redid a whole place. You know what I mean? So
no, I drove by it and it's before I even knew, and I was like,
yeah, it's coming.
I was like, skinny Joey's cheese.
Yeah, it's
like,
coming.
It can't be. And then I was like, oh shit.
It's going to be good. I would say, let's just hope that we'll be open before Christmas. That's all I hope for. And it'll be good.
Okay.
All right.
Cool.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Dude, I appreciate you coming on.
Of course. Anything you need.
And with that, we'll see you guys next week.
Thanks for having me.